welcome back to the railway. In today's video I'm going to be reviewing this Dapol Class 59204 locomotive in National Power Blue. So this is the newer style box for Dapol's N-gauge locomotive boxes. So it's slightly more squared off on the ends and slightly higher, but also slightly thinner, so it takes up a little bit less space. So as you can see here, just removing the sleeve from the box. So it's a very similar way to opening the old Dapol boxes. So it is just a plastic shell container that holds the locomotive. But as you can see here, it does seem like a much tighter fit for the box. As some of you may already know, the Class 66 is my favourite locomotive. And when I found out that the Class 59 locomotive, the inspiration for the Class 66, had been heavily reduced by Rails of Sheffield, I couldn't resist myself. So I decided to go for this, the National Power Blue liveried Class 59204. So I went for the DCC ready option, but they also have a DCC fitted and DCC fitted with sound options available. So with that out of the way, let's show you the rest of the unboxing of the locomotive. There's a small plastic sheet holding the top of the loco in place, making sure it doesn't rattle about. As you can see here, it's a very nice model, and it is held in place with a foam insert, which has a notch taken out of it for the accessories bag to fit in. And in the accessory bag, as you can see here, it gives you various options of separately fitting pipe details for the front, as well as the two options for the, I think it's the guard on the front of the locomotive, giving you the option to have it closed with no coupling or open and have the NEM coupling go through. So as you can see at the top right there, it just tells you how to remove the loco from the packaging without damaging it, just by pinching on the plastic sheet that holds the that surrounds the locomotive in its casing, and gently lift up. So with that just to the side, I'll just take it out that and just give you a quick look at the locomotive. As you can see, it's a very nice loco, very good detail on it, but we'll get more to that in a bit. Now the manual for the locomotive, unlike other Dapol boxes, is on the underside, as you can see here, so you have to remove all of the packaging to get to the instructions. So I'll just remove those bits of foam. So you have that bit of foam that was protecting the tops of the model, and you've got this bit protecting the side, and then finally at the bottom you then have the instruction sheet here. With this being a new tooled model, Dapol has extensively upgraded their usual instruction manual. Usually you just get a small sheet, sometimes with a little bit of a diagram, but in this one it gives you a full contents page telling you all the different areas of the instruction manual. It gives you loads of different specifications of the model, and I found it quite funny. It gave you the instructions for unboxing the model, which you had to have done already to get to the instruction manual, which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, so it just gives you at the bottom here just the information about running the model in, and then on these pages here showing you the different options for the front of the locomotive with the buffer beam detailing, and showing you where the body removal clips are, which is a very useful thing to know when carrying out maintenance on your models. So here it shows you where to access the option of different switches for the lighting options for the model on DC running, and then the next few pages then all have details on maintenance, as you can see on the left, and then all of the DCC CV settings and locations that you will need for the model if you have a DCC fitted or DCC sound fitted model. And finally at the end of the booklet it then just has the locomotive warranties and how to clean the model, as well as the terms and conditions. So I shall put all this to one side and I shall show you in detail this new locomotive. So now I'll give you a 360-degree view of the model so you can see all the sides and all the different angles. As you can see here at the front you have all the nice buffer beam detailing. You can see all the separately fitted pipes just underneath the loco body shell, as well as the separately fitted tanks at the bottom as well. So this range of Dapol Class 59s was released in early 2024 with 8 liveries available in DC, DCC and DCC sound. The DCC socket is 18 pin and there are multiple separately fitted parts, as you can see at the front here, such as the vacuum pipe detailing, the handrails for the cab, the pipework underneath the body shell, separately etched grills for the horn, as well as separately fitted handrails around the front of the locomotive. Here you can see in a bit more detail some of the pipework on the side of the locomotive, and there are further details delicately picked out in yellow paint underneath. Here you can see the exhaust on the top of the locomotive. This has been given a nice, slightly metallic finish to the paint, giving it a slightly shinier look than the rest of the locomotive. The underframe detail here includes the 2 tanks to the left and the fuel tank on the right, with the Dapol logo printed on the top. So now I'll just go through some of the extra features of the Class 59 with you. So as you'll be able to see here, if I just zoom in the camera, this model has wiper contacts connecting to all 12 wheels, which makes it incredibly reliable going over points, not losing its connectivity to the track. You'll also see here that each wheel is geared, so there isn't any loose rolling wheels. All of them are geared and all of them will move. This will help with the tractive effort of the loco. I haven't got a way of measuring this yet, but I am hoping to have some way of measuring that in the future. So you'll also see at this end of the model the NEM coupling pocket here, which as you can see moves around just as the other one does. Of course doesn't move quite so freely with the buffer end being there, but it shows it does move if you do want to use it. So here you can see some of the finer details of the pipework underneath, as well as the fuel tanks. And I'll try and get a shot in here. You can see some of the amazing detail inside the cab. You can almost make out some of the dials on there. And if you look very closely, as I show you this view here, you might just be able to see the tops of the seats on the left and the right hand side of the cab. So now I'll just show you the view from the other side of the cab. Again, being able to see the dials on the left, which is an incredible detail which isn't present in every N-gauge model. So it's very nice to see they've managed to add that detail in. You can also see the nameplate on the side of the locomotive, Vale of Glamorgan. This is very nicely detailed. It is only printed, it's not an etched piece, but it's a very nice detailed anyway. So now it's time to start the tests for the model, making sure it works as it should. So I'm just going to turn up the power here and you can see it gradually moving away. Now that's quite a nice start for a model that hasn't yet been run in. I'll compare this with tests later on after it has been run in. But as you can see, it seems very smooth in both directions. So now I've done that, I'm just going to see how slowly the locomotive can crawl. Now as you can see here, it does go very slowly, but it does seem like very jerky movements. And I'll see if this smooths out over time with running in. But for now, that does seem quite, especially at the slow speed, how noticeable it is. You can see it there lurching forward millimetre by millimetre as it's going, as the motor, as the power goes increased to the motor. As I turn up the power, it gradually smooths out as the speed increases. So that means this locomotive might not be as good at lower speed running, but it still works very smoothly for the higher speed running. So now I'll just move the locomotive past at about half speed, and again back in the other direction. It does seem to be slightly quicker going this way. Now I'll move the locomotive past at full speed. As you can see, that was very fast, so this model does seem to have been geared more for high speed running, looking at how quickly it went past. Now the reason you'll see me stopping the locomotive very abruptly here was because this is where I started to have suspicions that the model had a flywheel fitted, due to me turning off the power and the model continuing on for a few more seconds. It's very subtle on camera, I'm not sure if you'll be able to notice it or not, but from my perspective, turning up the power on the controller, it was very noticeable that I would turn off the power and the locomotive would gradually ease to a halt. So if my suspicions are correct, it's very good that they have fitted this model with a flywheel. For this section of the video, I've pulled the blind down just so you can get a view of the lighting. So here you can see the front light and the cab light working, as well as the rear lights, and again the cab lights at the rear of the locomotive. Again, there are switches that show you in the manual if you only want the front cab illuminated instead of having both illuminated at one time, but I'm going to leave it as it is because I like more illumination on my model, so that pleases me as it is. So I've now turned the locomotive round so you can see the lighting at the other end of the model. This was just to make sure that the lighting on both ends of the model worked as they should, and the cab lighting does an amazing job of showing the detail inside the cab. While the model was running in, I thought I would give you a quick history of the Class 59 locomotive. The Class 59 was a fleet of 15 Coco diesel-electric locomotives built between 1985 and 1995, with the max speed for the 59-0s and 59-1s being 60 miles an hour or 97 kilometres an hour. Meanwhile, the 59-2s, as you'll see with this model here, has a max speed of 75 miles an hour or 121 kilometres an hour. The engine in these locomotives is a 2-stroke V16 turbocharged diesel engine. These locos were not only the first privately owned diesel locos to run in the UK, but also the first American-made diesel locomotives to run on UK tracks, which is quite a record to have. The success of these locomotives led to the Class 66's creation, which could be argued as one of the most successful diesel locomotives in history. All 15 Class 59 locomotives are still operational, and all are in the UK after one had been on a quick trip to Germany for a couple of years and has now been returned. So now that you know a little bit more about the history of the Class 59, here you can see it traversing some of the trickier point sections on my layout. And as you can see, it traverses all of these points without any fuss. So now that the locomotive has been running, let's see how it is improved. So as I gradually turn up power to the model, let's see if the crawl is any better than it was before. As you can see there, it does seem to have started off moving at a much lower speed than it did before. So I think the crawl has improved, although I don't think it has got any smoother in running at the lower speed. It does still seem very jerky movements at very low speed. As you can see, it seems to move a millimetre and then stop, and then a millimetre and then stop. It seems to be that very, very, very low speed, it's nice and smooth, and there's a gap in between. It goes from the very low speed to the normal speed of running, that you can then see that those stopping mechanisms gradually appearing in. But when it speeds up, as you can see here, it's a very smooth runner, and I would also say it's very reliable, as I didn't have any loco fault derailments while it was going round. It did have a couple, but that was because I hadn't set the points properly. This is the first loco review where I'm going to be introducing scores to certain aspects of the locomotive. So for the crawl, I gave it a 7 out of 10, as it was able to do a crawl very slowly. For smoothness, I gave it a 4 out of 10. This was hampered heavily by the juttering that it did at medium speed crawl. Although it is very smooth at other speeds and very, very low speed, the jittering in between was quite distracting, let's put it that way. So I gave that a 4 out of 10. The next section is the finish of the model. This includes the livery application as well as decals. I gave it an 8 out of 10 as I thought it did a good job, although I have seen more crisp finishes on other locos. The final section is the details section. Now this includes any separately fitted parts, generally how well detailed the model looks, so whether it has, as you'll see in this model that we've been reviewing today, it had cab detailing, as well as loads of separately fitted pipework and details and etched parts. And I gave this model an 8 out of 10. So the overall score of the loco is 29 out of 40 if you add up all of the sections, which leads to a score of 70%. Now this being the first review with these scores on, I haven't got anything to compare this to, but keep tuned for more reviews to see how this model compares with others. So thank you very much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and give it a thumbs up, and indeed subscribe to the channel if you haven't, it's free. If you've got any comments, please let me know in the comment section below. What do you think of this new loco? Do you have a Class 59 yourself? Do you disagree with some of the scores I have given this loco? Do you have any suggestions about the scores that I'm giving this loco? Anything, just let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll leave you there. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.